really, like, what we say can have a profound impact, whether it's for the positive or for the negative. And and then also the part that's, like, for me personally, even the most convicting and probably should be for the masses, is that the Bible also says that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And so sometimes we're like, oh, I just need to tame my tongue, when really it's like a heart thing.
Really quickly, before we start this podcast, we at Upstream would love it if you would like this video. It helps our video be seen by more people, and it lets us know you like our stuff. Also, if you're really enjoying the content we put out, would you subscribe to our channel and hit the bell notification so you don't miss an episode? Lastly, please check out upstreamint.org. That is our organization's website. We empower world changers and difference makers in Haiti to bring hope in their communities. So please check that out and consider donating to us. And with all that out of the way, enjoy this week's episode.
Your eye's twitching. Are you okay?
It's not twitching. I'm in, like, very deep thought.
I saw your eye
I kind of feel like I'm going to puke,
twitch.
But that's okay.
Okay, no puking on camera.
Not because I'm sick.
Although that may up our views.
Because right? Because I'm feeling a little stress. That's okay.
That's all right. Stress be gone. Stress be gone.
Yes, please.
No, so yesterday, like, I was thinking.
You're not diving in yet, are you?
No, not at all. I was trying to finish my Monday statement and why I asked you how you feel about Tuesdays. Mondays, for whatever reason, have been extremely different for me. Mondays, it feels like Monday is the day that the full load, the full weight of maybe the year, the month is on my shoulders. And then I get through it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I enjoy my Saturday, Sunday. And then Monday, it's kind of like that old Bill Murray movie, Groundhog's Day, where you wake up and, news is still crazy. I remember it was like, what was it? April, we're like, COVID, that'll go away. And, like, it's just Mondays feel different for me right now. Like, it's the day I got to do the most praying. It's the day I got to be the most cautious. It's the day that I've got to remember that everything is okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel that way on Mondays?
I think I feel like that every day.
I don't.
Come on.
That's why I'm excited that it's Tuesday. I feel like once Monday's passed, the rest of the week is like, hey, I survived Monday, so I can get through the rest of the week.
Yeah, I guess.
It's almost like, what does Litman's test mean? When
I have
somebody
no idea.
says that,
We'd
what
have
does
to
that
Google
even
that.
mean? Well, I'm just going to make something up. And
No,
I'm just
don't,
gonna
babe.
Say,
Don't
I'm
do
say
that. Let me Google it.
Mondays feel like a Litman's test. Like, if you can survive Monday,
Let's look it up.
Then the rest of the week is just downhill. And maybe that's why this year went so fast.
Litman's test. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not Litman's. That's the first problem.
Oh, there goes my English again.
Litmus, Litmus.
Litmus test.
A litmus test is a question asked of a potential candidate for high office, the answer to which would determine whether nominating the official... Hold on, I got to click on it.
This seems way off.
Would proceed with the appointment or nomination. It's a metaphor based on the litmus test in chemistry, in which one is able to test the general acidity of a substance, but not its exact pH.
So when you hear it used in a sentence, how would it be used? Those seem very specific, like specific to acid testing.
Okay, wait, here's another definition, though. It says litmus test. Hold on. Slow internet. Thanks a lot, Texas. A test in which a single factor, such as an attitude, event, or fact, is decisive.
Okay, whatever.
Okay, well, let's stop making up stuff.
But I learned something today.
What did you learn?
I learned that it's not Litman's.
Litman's. At least you didn't say like Lipton or something like tea.
Yeah.
Or like Libman. Isn't that like a mop?
Sure, it is. It's the mop that we use to clean our floor with, actually.
No, we don't.
Yeah, the green one is.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it must be in your mind, being that you've probably only seen it once in your life.
I think he just said that I've seen the mop only once in my life.
Yes.
I'm going to ignore that.
Well,
and I will say you have mopped probably more than me, so I'll give you that one. Take that one to the bank and cash it.
I'm trying my hardest to dig a hole using my words to help build into...
Oh, so you're trying to trash me publicly so that you can make your point? Okay. Is this a Litman? Is this a Litman test?
Is this a Lipton test?
Is this a Lipton test?
Has this got enough lemonade in it or not?
What?
I don't know anyway.
I really don't know what
Lipton's
that meant. Okay,
iced tea.
let's
I like
move
mine
on.
with lemon.
Wait, hey, when are we going to bring oxen? Maybe we could bring oxen now, and you could discuss like our topic.
Sure.
And should we
Ox,
just
why
have
don't
him
you come
sit on my
over?
lap?
No, we'll have him bring one of these over. We'll see what he looks like in the middle of us.
No, that's too tall.
I think he'll need to be that tall.
Okay.
Otherwise,
But
he'll
he needs
too
to be
short.
by the mic.
Yep. Kind of squeeze in here.
Yeah, there you go, right there. Put your legs in here, Dad. It's going to have to move his
You're
quadriceps.
gonna be the center of attention.
Joe, move your quads.
All right. I'll move my quads.
Move your
Let me
quads,
see what he
please.
looks like. Let's see. Ben will give us a little sneak shot here. Oh, wow, look at that. You look great.
You look good, Ox.
How old are you, Ox?
10.
10. Wow, how long have you been
Okay,
10
you gotta
for?
sit still.
10 years.
You've been
No,
10
you
for
haven't
10
been
years?
10 for 10
No,
years.
You've been 10 since October.
I know.
I wasn't thinking.
But
I wasn't
it's
thinking.
taken you 10 years to get there.
Yeah, it took 10 years to turn 10, but you haven't been 10 for 10 years.
All right. So
That's okay.
I
It's
asked-
been like 2 months.
I asked Mom on our walk today. Well, actually, it was yesterday, and then we solidified it today. What our topic would be, and she went between two different topics, and we ended up.
And it all depended on what I wore today.
yeah. Sammy's topic was like it's either going to be the slogan from the shirt I wore yesterday or this one.
Maybe we'll do that next
The
week.
slogan.
Slogan is like a mantra, like a thing that you say, like,
Oh, like-
only dead fish go with the flow. Yeah.
That would be a slogan, or Nike's slogan is.
Just
Let's do it.
what's
There you go.
McDonald's?
Yes, I'm loving it.
There you go.
Okay.
That's a
What's?
slogan.
Do you know any other ones? What's Chick-fil-A?
Chick-fil-A,
Does it
Eat
have
more chicken.
Eat more chicken? That's right.
Yeah.
and it's a cow picture.
That's
It
right.
is a cow picture.
Okay, so we were talking about would it be the thing off my shirt or
What did you say?
What are you talking about that all day?
Yep. So that's what it is. Today is the power of words. And yeah, I don't. Yeah,
less? Well, I mean, yes. Yes,
Sorry.
babe, I'm gonna smack you. It's a less. I
I'm
mean,
caffeinated, Ben.
yeah, we can clearly see that. It's less. It's. I mean, yes, like the power of words, but also just like recognizing where they're coming from.
Sure, where they're coming from, and like, yeah, just
That's a key. Is my hair? Oh, that I thought my hair was really messed up, but it's a lamp
the
behind me
power of
that's
it.
bulging.
So
Okay.
let me ask you a question, Ox.
Yes, Ox.
Think about this for a second. Well, how would you frame it then? If it's not, if we're not going to ask what the power of words are, what would we?
Okay, let's see. Let's test Ox.
Okay.
If we're talking about the things that people say in this house, what is Mom famous for saying when people say things that they shouldn't say in this house? Don't swear.
Why would he swear?
Because sometimes I swear. Guys, I love Jesus, but I do cuss a little. I'm working on it. It's part of our topic.
Random.
He's whispering in my ears. No, what do I say? I say don't
Speak back.
don't speak back to me.
Yeah.
No,
Don't
I
you
always
speak
say
back to me.
don't I always say don't speak that over yourself or don't speak that over so and so.
But that's only Calista.
That's only Calista.
I do say that to her a lot, but I say it to everybody.
Specific when it comes to.
I guess I
speaking
don't say it enough.
Speaking negative. No, you say that a lot. I hear that all the time in this house. A lot of times, yeah, it has to do with like
Certain things,
anything
yeah.
negative.
Yeah.
Anything negative. You sometimes will just say, "Don't speak that into existence."
Yeah.
Not that you believe.
Yeah, that you can just like
That you
poof.
can
like
just
I
speak
just
it
said
into
avocado
existence.
and
Like
here's
I
one.
want a real monster truck.
There you go. All right, Ox, what do you want to say to this audience of 7 people?
I don't know.
God bless.
You got anything?
Yes.
Okay, go for it.
Do you want to throw down a little beat?
You want to throw
No.
down a beat for us?
No.
No.
You could bring us from 7 all the way up to 12 viewers if you beatbox.
Do you really want to keep 5 viewers from us?
No.
Really, Ox?
Oh, we love you. Bounce out of here.
Love you, buddy.
Good appearance.
Can you please take your bar
You
stool?
can put your bar stool back.
Okay, thanks, buddy. Love you. Hey, can
Just
you go
kidding.
upstairs and make sure Gospel's not doing anything ridiculous?
Just getting that third person in there created body heat.
Yeah. What?
Sweaty.
Buy Upstream.
By Upstream. By Upstream TV. All right, so Sam.
Yes, sir.
So why don't you share with us a little bit like where this came from? I've got plenty to keep us on track today, but on our walk, which I'm grateful that we got to go on a walk this morning.
Yeah.
I'm glad to have had you with me.
Yes.
You wanted us to get into this words thing, and I know that you were talking about the place that they come from, out of the heart, the mouth speaketh, and all that type of stuff. So what were you thinking? Where were you going with this?
Really, I was just trying to personally think about the things that come out of my mouth, but also challenge other people to really consider like the power and the value that words have, both like biblically speaking, the power that they have to either bring life or bring death. And I was talking about how in the Bible it says that, the tongue, obviously it can do a bajillion things, but it was comparing our mouth and the capabilities that our tongue have to like even a spark setting an entire forest on fire. Mm-hmm. And just sharing about how like, really like what we say can have a profound impact, whether it's for the positive or for the negative. And and then also the part that's like for me personally, even the most convicting and probably should be for the masses is that the Bible also says that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And so sometimes we're like, oh, I just need to tame my tongue, when really it's like a heart thing.
Ooh.
And I can see that. I mean, obviously, we were just talking with Ox. Like, there's times, like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I for sure swear. Anyone that lives in my house will be like, yeah, Mom swears sometimes. But it's something that I do feel convicted about at times. And then I get really good at. And then I, like, can easily get back to sometimes they're slipping out. If I look at it, though, why it's happening, it's generally coming from a place of, like, sadness or, hurt or anxiety. Yeah, like things that, so it's kind of more of that picture of what is in your heart is likely what's going to come out of your mouth. Yeah. And so if we can really do the business of figuring out what it is in our heart, which, in Psalms it says like, search my heart, oh God, and like, because he knows what's in us, right? And show me anything in me that is offensive. And so if we kind of take that posture, well, then we're really able to start doing some of that heart business, Yeah. Does this mean I have to quit swearing again? Jeez. Yes,
hey, you were successful with it one day.
One day, I went like a whole month, and then we had to leave. We had to leave Haiti, and we moved to COVID, and then it all started coming again.
My favorite part about your confession on this is that it feels funny to even confess it. You know what I mean? Like if that is something that gets us a little taken back, imagine the fly on the wall, like what things you would see behind closed doors of people's lives when we could almost not, I'm not saying you're ashamed, I'm not ashamed, I'm just saying some people could really be taken back, like, oh my gosh, like
Sammy swears,
Sammy swears, or I
come
swear,
on.
or
well, Joe doesn't. In full transparency, I've heard you swear not very often. It's not a very common thing for you to do that. But what you would do is like, if you're sad or hurt or angry or stressed or anxious, you would just eat like 45 bags of sunflower seeds.
I'd eat 2 rows of Oreos.
I would just drop an atomic mouth bomb and move on.
Sure.
So we all have our vices.
We won't.
Yours is dill pickle flavored and mine is not.
As much as I would enjoy an entire episode of picking on your flaws because you have so few, I know that's not the point of today's message. So I titled this, "What Did You Say?" Just as,
Well, yeah, it's not what it's about because, yes, I'm referring to swearing, but I'm really talking more about, here's an example. Can I share an example really quick?
Yes.
Okay, so this is random, but yesterday or two days ago, I'm in a bunch of like online like yard sale groups, and a couple days ago, this ad showed up on my news feed, mostly because it had 148 comments on it. So because of algorithms, it shows up more places, right? Well, what it was a woman who was posting a box of hangers, clothing hangers for sale. Sure. Well, the clothing hangers in the photo were pretty disheveled. It was like old school ones from like a dry cleaners with the paper and it's torn off. And I mean, it's literally a hot mess box of hangers. They're falling out. It's a hot mess. It literally looks like she shoved 80 years of hangers in a box and put it for sale for $10.
Nice.
Okay. Fine. Do your thing. If somebody wants to buy it, cool. If they don't,
funny
cool.
Is someone probably did.
Nobody did.
Okay.
But what did happen and what was so disheartening for me, also, it was very obvious from this woman's post and all of the other posts of listings she had, because those were also being shared in the comments, that English was her first was not her first language.
sure.
You know, for example, instead of spelling mannequin the way that it is spelled, it was MANKIN. Just
smell what
certain
you're stepping in,
things,
yep.
right? So it was pretty obvious. Well, what happened was there's literally like 148 comments by the time I see it. It hadn't been posted that long, but it was people shredding this lady.
no.
I mean, just shredding her.
That's sad.
And just like making fun of the post and then joking about it and being like, oh, can I have more pictures? Or bump, which means like move it up higher because it's really, you know, it hasn't sold yet or whatever. And just really like relentlessly teasing this
Sure.
lady and then showing other listings that she had and making fun of them like, oh, look at this chair she's selling. It's disgusting. It's dirty. I mean, just trashing the lady. Well, I know enough to know that if I come on there and I defend this lady, I'm just going to get slaughtered for it. But I also know I'm a justice girl, so
What
I
does
have
your
a very...
shirt say?
If you're neutral in... If
You are
Why-
the oppressor.
You know,
Sorry.
if you're neutral in situations of injustice, you've chosen the side of the oppressor. So, like, there is this part of me where I'm like, I sometimes just can't help myself but to defend somebody. In this situation, I chose to wait. And instead, I sent her a message privately.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, hey, I'm not interested in your hangers. But I just want you to know that I see you. And I'm so sorry that these people are literally like destroying you about your listing.
Yeah.
And she responded and she said, you know, I love Jesus. No, she said, I'm a Christian, so I'm choosing not to respond the way that I would maybe want to.
Ooh.
She's like, but I also have to admit that it does hurt.
Yeah.
It just made me
gonna
so
make me cry.
sad. Like, I'm like, but then it makes you think about too, you're like, this world, like you hear constantly about kids being bullied in school and all these things that happen in school.
Yeah.
Like when we were growing up, we saw it. Now it's worse than ever. You know, suicide rates, all these things from people that are getting, you know, teased.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, this poor lady is just trying to make some money. She's selling some things, and sure, they might not be as nice as some of the other things that people are selling, but like, why is it that we feel the need sometimes, or people feel the need sometimes, to interject something that is not helpful in any way? Like, all they're doing is literally
Well, that was
one,
straight
making
up bully
fun of her,
mentality, though, too. That was
and then everybody
that was
bullying
totally
her.
Somebody on the playground said something that nobody really wanted to, but because somebody did, now
Yep, it opened up the floodgates. And I'm
opened up the
talking
floodgates, yeah.
last night,
That
it
is
was
social
up to like
media,
100 and, I mean, it was over 150 comments. Well, there was one girl that said something.
Yeah.
And she stood up and she said, well, you know, I take it as her standing up, even though I didn't see her actually stand up. She said, you know, do I think that the price of this is ridiculous? Yes. But there's no need for all of you to be responding this way. Well, this guy sends back the most crude response. Like, he basically said to this lady who was defending her, I've done this, which was a horrible act that he was saying he's done. Not a horrible act, but a horrible act to say that you, whatever. It was vulgar. I've done this with less shame than she should have about this post or something like that. Well, that is when the part of me that I cannot contain.
You decided to get in, huh?
I was nice, but I just
like
said,
ding, ding, ding,
I just
tag
couldn't,
team.
I just couldn't help it anymore. And maybe this other girl, like having the courage to say something. I mean, I definitely posted and deleted, like wrote it and then deleted it a few times because I'm like, I don't want to make it worse. I don't want to cause more division, but at the same time, so I felt like it was more important to just message the lady privately and let her know, like, hey, I see you. I'm sorry this is happening. I was tempted to buy her hangers, but I didn't need them.
Yeah.
And so I didn't. But I just responded and I just said, like, you know, hey, like the things that we say are important. And we wonder sometimes why our world, why our country is so divided. And we're seeing the proof of that because this woman's just trying to sell some hangers. If you don't want to buy the hangers, move on.
Yeah.
But like for literally there to be 150 some comments of people just trashing her, it's ridiculous. And nobody said anything like after that, like a bunch of people like, you know, hearted it or whatever. Nobody said anything after that, but I'm just like, it just shows like, you know, and this lady, like you can be a Christian and choose to not engage. Like we have had people say horrible things about us. We have had people straight up lie about us. Like you can Google our names and you can find horrible lies about us.
You can?
Yes, because remember all that weird, you know. People are.
Should we put it to the top of our list?
No,
So that
but I'm just saying
people can go find it?
what I'm saying is that people that either have an agenda or don't understand or have hurt feelings and they don't know what to do other than to hurt people with those feelings. We've had people say really nasty things about us.
Yeah.
And
The
you
world
can be a
loves smear
Christian.
campaigns.
Yeah. You can be a Christian and choose not to say. Like we have taken the heat for things that other people have said and done, and we know that they're in the wrong and we're in the right, and we still act like we're the ones in the wrong to the person that's in the middle because you just don't want to defame somebody else, right?
Sure.
Like we've done that, but that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. And that's the thing that with this lady that broke my heart is she's like, I'm a Christian, and I'm choosing to not engage it, but it does hurt. And she just thanked me for saying something.
Yeah.
And so it just really has made me think a lot. And I had already planned out that I was going to be talking about words like on my own personal page today.
Yeah.
But it just made me think even more about like just, you know, how much power we truly do have with this thing in our mouth. Like so much power. And if we aren't checking our hearts and figuring out why am I feeling, like why am I saying this? It's obviously because I'm feeling a certain way. Like if we're not able to really like check that, we can really hurt people. And we can really hurt people that care about us and that we care about. And granted, like we've done it. We're not perfect. Like we've hurt people. People have hurt us, but it's worth considering. Because do we really like want to bear the name of Jesus and go on hurting people?
What is, for lack of better words, interesting about what you're saying is, one, I'm most certain that through the course of my life, I've been a part of poor words spoken or bad words spoken. I certainly know that as I look at our kids' lives, and you think about those moments where maybe you could have chosen this.
We all have done it. Yep.
But to be conscientious of it and to feel guilt after it happens is the evidence of the Holy Spirit and God doing work in our lives. And it is, as far as God is concerned, one of the most important things that we are supposed to be guarding. I mean, when we look at, you're bringing to this whole point, what is the power of words? Well, the words themselves are important as far as what damage they do, but also where they're coming from, right? That's where, as we internally think about words that come out of our mouth or participating in something like you're describing, where that comes from is what is sad and scary.
And I think what we're teaching other generations too, like I just think about, even just something as silly as that Facebook marketplace dialogue, but I see it everywhere too. I mean, like I'm in all these different like interest groups, right? Like I'm in this one for cane corsos for our dog, right? Learning about them, training, just all kinds of things, just trying to learn more. And people are so nasty. Like somebody will literally, like somebody posted a picture the other day of their cane corso, proud of their dog. It was pretty obvious that it was not a full-bred cane corso.
Yeah. Mixed breed of some sort.
Yes, fine. But so many people felt the need to say something.
Yeah.
like about her, but
I
rudely.
tire of saying not out of love because we don't even know what that context means anymore.
But rudely, like, oh yeah, that's a half breed, or like that's not. And you're like, why? What is the point?
There are nice ways to say things, and it's kind of become
like you could even
theme.
ask, like if you're curious, like. Yeah. Maybe you're like, oh yeah, that is obviously not a purebred cane corso. Maybe you could say, hey, like, you could ask, or just mind your own business. Like, why do you care if this person's dog is full bred or half bred? Why do you care if your dog costs $5,000 or theirs costs $350? Like, why do you care? And it just makes me think that there are young people watching. Yeah. I mean, there's constantly kids in our house.
What we're giving permission to.
Yes. And you wonder why kids are so horrible to each other at school. We just see it all, right? Like just different things that have happened. Our kids have been, the victim of people saying horrible things to them. And we, of course, have. Jabbering.
I've spent so much time this last year listening to, like, really broadening all the voices that I'm listening to. It's great to hear extremes on either end to try to help find your balance sometimes. And what's interesting is no matter what side somebody's on, we seem to
Are
battle
you talking
for...
about like you've been listening to people like politically, like
And
on one
it don't-
extreme
it
or the
don't
other,
matter.
or
It don't matter.
Christianity one extreme or the other, or what are you referring to?
As we're talking about words, and you're saying where does it come from? Like when we do that, it's this wild, like, desire to be right. Like somehow, some way, when we're talking about math problems, one thing that's beautiful about math, one of the reasons why a lot of kids love math as they're going through school is because it has
A concrete answer,
real answer. You might need to figure out the formula or how to work the equation, but you can know for sure you've got the right answer. Well, life feels like today our opposition, like who we oppose in life, it's as if they are just wrong and we are just right. And never realizing that sometimes it has to do with like where your starting point is. So when I'm saying this, what I'm saying is like when we push our words, especially in today's day and age, and if we are hinged on just being right, because your camp can feel like you're right, my camp can feel like I'm right, you can lose love in the middle. And when it comes to what would Jesus do, God never once spoke to us and said make sure in all situations that they know you are Christians by being right.
Right.
He says...
Right. See what I did there? Didn't mean to do that.
He said, may you be known by your love. And, that can...
But
that
so
can
many
be,
people are
well,
so opinionated, and especially because you have social media, where it just kind of is this open door to say whatever you want, whenever you want, to whoever you want. And it's...
You're not weighing the cost.
It's damaging.
Not weighing the cost at that point. And that's when you were sharing that story about this lady in Facebook Marketplace. I had to do something last year that most people will go their whole lifetime without doing. But I had to write 1 through 41, which represent every year of my life, and try my best to remember marker moments of those years. So year 1, obviously you don't remember much of anything, all the way up to 4 or 5. But your entire year of age 5, you might have a couple of memories. 6 and 7, a couple of memories. 10, a couple of memories. A few memories make up all of the years of your life. And when it comes to words, sometimes those markers can leave, as you said before, our words can set ablaze an entire forest. A little spark that doesn't seem very dangerous. As I click a lighter or strike a match, it doesn't feel very dangerous, but you put that on kindling near a forest and you can have a pretty crazy wildfire. Many of us, when we look at ourselves or the things that have caused traumas in our life, whatever, can be rooted in words spoken. So what seemed to be just a flippant moment on Facebook of you feeling funny or feeling like you're right or even being able to defend, you have completely negated the fact that you could be really destroying and hurting somebody. And that's what breaks my heart. And that's why I say, like, to do it and not be repentive, like to not walk away from that moment and be like, well, I just totally trashed a complete stranger yesterday. I didn't know anything about them, can be so dangerous. And what makes me really sad is that is a lot of what this last year has been for me, even just trying to make sense of our political system and what's going on. I don't know a single person that is a governor or a senator or the attorney general or the president or the vice president, but I have so many opinions about them. I have so many thoughts about them. If you were to grab anybody off the street and say, what do you think about this person? What do you think about that person in politics? They would have a whole lot to say about it. And guess where all of their opinions came from? Words,
not spending time in their life.
Words spoken by somebody. And I think that's the reason why we're seeing media just get such a hard rap these days, is because depending on what twist they put on it, depends on how you feel now about that person or about a particular situation.
Okay, move on. Do you remember where we were?
Yeah, so what I want to do is try to get under the surface, all right? So we have dealt with the fact that words come out of our mouth sometimes that can cause damage. And that in itself is bad. We should think about it. We should look at it and examine it. But also, like, where is it coming from? Right.
It out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks.
So what does it reveal about our hearts? if we can examine our lives, we look at our lives and be like, oh wow, I can say some hurtful things, or wow, this could really cause a fire. That whole verse, right, in James is comparing our tongue to like the rudder of a ship, right?
Yes.
It's saying,
or to like the bit in a horse's mouth. It's a million things.
A ship is huge. It's mighty, yet just a tiny little rudder can guide its direction. So it's saying our tongue has the ability to set a course for our life, things that we speak over our own life, and set a course for other people's lives, that we speak into other people's lives. Some people are very calloused, and, you can say negative things about them. They can brush off their back. That's not typically the case. Most people take our words spoken over them pretty seriously, and it can set the course of life. So as we are examining this thing of words, what does it reveal about our heart? What kind of issues can we be having with our heart if we find ourselves
What does it reveal about our heart?
Yeah, what does it reveal about our heart?
Yeah. I mean, I think, like, obviously we all have stuff going on in our hearts, right? It could be anything from, like, things that are long-term or things that are short-term, right? And what I mean is, like, short-term, I could just be really ticked because I just spilled my coffee all over the floor. And then I'm saying something rude to somebody that happens to be in the middle of the situation, right? That'd be more short-term. Or long term, it could be like, I have, say somebody has like really wounded me and done something to like really harm me, and I'm maybe I am working through it, maybe I'm not, but maybe there's like a root of bitterness that has like kind of come in me or something like that. And say that somebody that's totally unrelated to the situation says something even remotely similar to something that somebody else said or did that really hurt me, they might get the brunt of what was actually somebody else's thing, right?
Yeah.
And so I just think like you can have so many things going on. You could have anxiety. You could be depressed, either clinically or situationally. You could be, harboring anger and greed, like there's times where, I think like I see it a lot. I think it's maybe more of a woman thing than it is a man thing. Hate to generalize, especially in this day and age. But I think women naturally are very competitive with each other. I think men are in a different way, more of a like, oh yeah, like I have bigger muscles than you do kind of a way.
I don't know if that's true.
It's true. Whereas I feel like with women, it's less obvious. It's more covert. Like you see a woman succeeding and maybe you're jealous, and instead of like in your heart, like actually celebrating them, championing them, being happy for them, you're like grumbling, and maybe not to them. Maybe you just say to them like, oh, congratulations, but really you mean,
Sure.
And so I just think like there's just different ways. Like I think our heart can just have a lot of yucky parts to it, and if we're not careful, they can come out in swearing too.
Well, when I examine my heart, I can definitely see that I'm a critical spirit, and that typically that's rooted in...
Okay, don't speak that over yourself. Let's not say I am a critical spirit. Let's say I can have a critical spirit.
Thanks for the correction.
Yes.
Let me say that when I'm actually looking at myself, I can see that I can be critical about situations. When I examine that, usually it's rooted in envy.
Well, that's what I mean. Like when I'm saying like this example of like sometimes women can be kind of,
yours seem to be a little bit more in bitterness, but yeah, envy too, right? Like you would rather
like,
see
oh,
somebody...
like this lady's like, she's really crushing it at this, and I'm like down here and I'm not quite crushing it yet, rather than being like,
those two can go hand
like
in
she's
hand
really crushing it. That's exciting. And I'm going to keep, But instead we can let our heart...
for me to even admit, but yeah, I struggle with celebrating. It's a command. God says for us to celebrate with our brothers that rejoice.
Weep with those who weep, rejoice with those who rejoice.
Weeping for those that are weeping, not so hard. It really depends. Like this is a vulnerability, right? You had to confess that you swear. This one's a little bit hard for me to confess because I don't want it to be that way.
Yeah.
But like I said, if I see myself being critical, just for critical sake, it typically is because there's some envy involved. And that is kind of what goes to the top of my list.
But
which
I feel the root sometimes, you might think like envy might be the more obvious.
Right.
I would say underneath the envy for you would be insecurity. Like,
Which goes into identity,
I'm not,
right?
like I'm not as good as this person, or
Yeah.
I can't accomplish what this person
Yeah.
has.
If
and
we
it
were
can,
to say-
it can look like envy, but underneath it all is something more, you know?
If we were to say envy was a symptom, it would be a symptom of identity, right? I struggle really hard with ever feeling good enough. Like I could say something that makes somebody sad or angry or upset, and I'm going to take that a lot more to heart than the average person, because there is a deep sense of identity for me that's rooted in words spoken over me as a child, that I'm just always going to be a failure.
A failure?
Yeah,
Always gonna be a failure.
Always going to be a failure. Always going to be a failure.
It's a Litman test.
Right, and
I just clunk my tooth.
when you grow up poor and disadvantaged,
Babe, I'm sorry, but I could have just knocked my tooth out.
but I'm trying to get really sentimental right now.
I know, and I literally just bashed my face with my coffee cup and almost knocked
I
my
heard
tooth
it.
out.
I actually heard it out of the corner of my ear.
It actually like stung all the way up to my eyeball.
Yeah. I totally forgot what
I
I was gonna say.
apologize.
Do
You were
remember
talking.
what I was saying?
Yes, you were talking about how like there are certain things that were spoken over you from a young age that you bring into adulthood, and so words. I was really distracted by knocking my tooth out.
Yeah, words spoken over me left a mark. That mark, there you go, leaves me wounded in most situations. Like failure is a very normal thing. Mm-hmm. Really,
It's actually a good thing.
well, no, but
you can learn.
Imagine for a second if you were scared of failure, you wouldn't try anything new.
Or maybe you'd try less than if you weren't scared of failing.
Well, no, but I'm just saying, like, if
Because you're scared of failing, and we've tried a lot of pretty crazy things.
well, I know, but even those crazy things that we've tried because I had this weird sense of like we would accomplish it. I think because of things that we've been able to do in the past. But when failure comes knocking at your door and you have an identity issue that you're afraid of living up to those words spoken over you, that you're always going to be a failure, it can be really destructive. Mm-hmm. You know, that can really set the forest afire. So anyways, yeah, I think as we examine our hearts, right, words could be something that are easy for us to look at and be like, wow, I just said something that made somebody cry, or I just said something I'm not proud of, or wow, that could leave its mark. It's one thing to be repentive of those words. It's another thing to go home, go into your quiet place, and examine your heart and say, where did that come from? Mm-hmm. Obviously, we all have moments. Not to say we could have bad words as an accident, but the heart, examining our heart in these moments is when we realize that that's actually kind of chronic or habitual. If you look at yourself and you're like, wow, I'm constantly bullying people, or I'm constantly doing this, or I'm constantly doing that, you know, there's a heart issue to look at there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You know, it is a lot to think about. One of the things that I've been thinking about, I just forgot because I got distracted by something outside.
But my good looks.
Always thinking about your good looks. No, I was thinking.
My handsome eyebrows.
I do want to pluck one of them, one of your hairs. What was it? It was something that I was really thinking about, and then I got distracted by one, listening to you, and two,
a car driving by?
A school bus.
Yeah, that would be ADD. Remember an episode or so ago when you wondered if you had ADD? That would
Ben,
be...
do you think I have it?
That would be a marker.
No?
That would
Well,
be,
I am really distracted because they kept talking to each other over there, and I was thinking, I wonder what they're talking about. Maybe I can listen in.
I'm going to listen into that one.
I'm going to see if I can listen to both things at the same time. But what was I going to say? It was actually...
Well, let's say...
It was actually very thought-provoking.
I guarantee it was really smart.
So much so that I thought about other things,
if
too.
it was coming from you, I'm guaranteeing it was smart. All right, so let's not stay on that one, right?
I figured it out.
There we go.
Okay, so this is something that I was thinking. I've thought about this several times in my life, and since I earlier confessed that sometimes I have a struggle with swearing, I have thought about this off and on my whole life because
every now and then, Ben, you should just beep a word that she says to us so people think she's swearing.
Swearing. Because sometimes I say things like, okay, but anyways, so you could beep out George, that'd be really funny.
Yep. Beep.
Anyways, so this is something that I think about sometimes.
Several times, you said.
Several times throughout my life.
Yes.
And that is, would I say this at church?
Would I say this at church? Would I say this with
and like granted, the people, like my Christian friends that are like the closest to me, they've heard me swear. Like I'm not going to act like they haven't. But I also remember a time where a pastor's wife swore in front of me. And I was like, this is cool. Like we are cut from the same cloth. But then later, within a few hours, she apologized to me. Mm-hmm. And said like, hey, I really shouldn't have spoken that way. Like I shouldn't have said this. I'm sorry for saying that. And it actually has always impacted me. Not enough that I just stay not swearing because my life, like I said, you choose, dill pickle.
I choose dill pickle. I choose dill pickle. Yes, dill pickle sunflower seeds. Every time for me.
You choose dill pickle sunflower seeds, and I choose sometimes swearing, But anyways.
Oh, you actually meant to say dill pickle?
Yes.
I thought you were going to say like diplomacy.
No.
Or diplomat.
No,
I didn't know that literally the word you were looking for.
Dill pickle. I was really trying to say, but then I was going to say something else, and I didn't mean to. But anyways, it just makes me think about if you cannot say it at church, you should be able to not say it wherever you are.
That goes back to, remember me talking about, well, maybe I've never shared this with you.
Dill pickle.
I've never shared this with you, but I used to.
You never shared this with me? I'm scared.
Brandon Anfinson, if you're watching, I apologize.
Were you mean to him?
Brandon Anfinson and I had such a close working relationship for so many years that we crossed that professional line. Like we would
Did you swear?
No, we would go at each other in business. It'd be him and I, because there was a time in my life where my office was the top of someone else's office in a giant warehouse covered with dust, and my desk was a weeder gym machine. Clint West would remember this. And so him and I, like, we went through the trenches together, and we were very competitive with each other. It's one of the reasons why we loved working together. But one time I was just giving it to him, just
nasty Joe. We better find him and apologize.
I can't even remember what we were arguing about, but we were arguing like two dudes in a locker room.
Rude.
And our boss walked past us, and I was instantly able to stop.
Yeah, naughty.
Prior to that moment, though, I would have felt like I'm yelling at you because you're yelling at me, and the situation was it was what it was. But the proof of that, the right person placed, within earshot, it could instantly call. I mean, I was at a 10, and it brought me down to an instant 0 and 1, and that tied in with me. After that moment, it tied in with me as far as God telling us about being respecters of men. There are many things that we think we can do in private that we really can't.
Mm-hmm. Or shouldn't. I should say shouldn't.
God is always with us. And so I wouldn't say that my yelling, arguing, whatever it was that you'd call that moment had completely gone away. You and I have certainly shared some good arguments.
We have?
But even in that same sense, there's a part where it's like, I don't really want anybody else to have to hear this, and I go take a breather and get out of the room before it escalates or whatever. But it's this idea that when we think...
You're definitely more fight or flight, and I'm definitely more fight.
When we think that we can't control a response of our mouth is really admittance that we are out of control. Of our heart.
Yeah.
Of our heart and our mouth.
It's something to really think about.
So, all right. We got that part covered.
Look at this.
Let's talk about...
The sun is shining on me. See this?
Yeah, I see it. Well, the sun, it comes and it goes.
Does it make my eyes sparkle?
You look like a superhero.
Thank you. Wonder Woman, they call me. Just kidding, they don't actually.
I was thinking more like...
That's Callista. People think she looks like...
Mrs. Incredible.
Gal,
remember?
whatever. Huh?
Mrs. Incredible. She had that thing across her eyes.
Am I scattered?
She's a stretchy woman. All right,
that would be Mrs. Incredible.
We've got one more portion of this.
No, we don't. We're done.
No,
we just tied it up. I did a great job. The end.
Fabulous. But I wanted to hit one last part.
Hey.
Because we did title this, What Did You Say? And the Power of Words. We talked about what it reveals about our hearts. I want to hit a couple of things because what we have lost in today's day and age, right? There are things that have become so commonplace that we don't even call them out. If someone were to swear, we'd all be like, oh, they swore. We'd call attention to it. But there are things that we do that have become so commonplace, we are so into them, that we don't even actually think about the fact of the damage that they have. So,
you have examples?
What power do words have? How about gossip? How much damage can gossip do? Mm-hmm. Yet it is kind of it is kind of a part of. I mean, I haven't lived in a ton of cultures, but I have lived in a few, and I remember even thinking it was odd how little of other people's business people knew when we lived in Haiti. I remember we were living in a time where our principal...
Or they definitely need to talk about other people's business.
Our principal, who was very close to our director, had major things going on in their life that the director didn't even know about.
Because that's just different way of doing things.
They were private that way. Where here in America, we kind of feel like we're entitled to know everyone's business.
Well,
and not only can we know it, we also have permission to share it.
Well, we think we do. And I think a lot of times what happens is people will use the guise of like, you should really pray for Jane. She's really struggling,
That's
or like
the Christian gossip.
Yeah. It's like you should
gossip prayer.
Did you hear about Georgetta?
Yeah.
She did such and such.
Yeah.
Lord be with her. Like people will make it seem like it's not gossip if they call it a prayer request, and you're like, no, that straight up is still gossip.
and I am most certain that there's a time and a place where that could be.
That's all I could think of.
Where that could be acceptable, like it would actually be.
Anyone named. No,
I could see that there would be a time and a place where that could actually be a benefit. But where I think about it is where it's actually slander.
Oh yeah, and
so I'm going to.
And
we've
seen some people
example.
be. Well, let's not go too deep into it because
this is a perfect for example.
I'm very distracted.
This one's harmless. Yeah, I think you are caffeinated.
I'm not actually.
This one's harmless.
Is it?
I won't use any names. It'll just be very situational. We were sitting in our house, minding our own business. No, I was kidding. I was probably cooking or something. And out of the corner of my ear, I heard one of our boys speak about another group of boys with a very negative intention. Let's just say, that group of boys, they're losers. That moment left kind of uncounseled or not talked about.
Yeah.
Would have left anybody in the room that didn't know personally that group of boys to think, because of our son's, interpretation, that now if they were to meet those boys, they would just think that they were a group of losers, and whatever losers meant, because there isn't enough information, or they're just going to put together what losers even mean to them. That is what I mean is like sometimes.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Before you go diving into that, we also need to keep in mind and share that once talked through in that situation, like, hey, like, what do you actually mean by that? Like, that's actually not at all what that kid's heart was.
Well, it was actually beautiful because it ties into a little bit of what we were talking about as far as our heart check. Him and I did have that conversation the next day. I said, hey, bud, that was like kind of out of the ordinary for you. Two, do you understand the damage that potentially could have done? Because some of us may meet these boys at some point, and our first impression of them is your statement that they're losers. And he was mature enough to be able to say, yeah, you know what? Like,
that's totally, first off, really? It was like, that's actually not how I meant it.
Well, it was.
Second off,
it was not how I meant it, but it also was in his own hurt feelings.
Yeah.
It was because he wasn't.
Unmet expectation.
Unmet expectation, but also because he wasn't necessarily included. He wasn't necessarily included in this group's activities that night, and blah, 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 blah.
So clearly, something that came out of the mouth was totally like a heart thing.
It was a heart thing.
Yeah.
But what it does, though, is it also makes me think, I can be guilty of this too. There are a lot of opportunities sometimes to speak on behalf of someone that we know or we've had encounters with or whatever, to people that may have not met these people or may have not had any interaction with them.
Maybe they have, and we still, people still have things to say.
I may dip my words in some sour vinegar before I share it, and that's not fair.
It's not fair. Two, it's not what God has asked us to do either.
Right, it is not what He's asked us to do,
and we have been.
Think about the receiving end.
We have been on the receiving end of people saying stuff that's just not cool.
Right. So, anyways, inside of that,
and we've probably said things.
Oh no, yeah, this is a preaching to the choir type conversation.
We're not going to confess all of our sins today because we don't have time for that, but just a couple.
Yeah, for sure. And I would say, with all of what we've talked about and how it is kind of most practical in our lives today is obviously amongst our friends, inside of our neighborhoods, communities, church, all that type of stuff. but also even in the way that we are dealing with our fellow man, our fellow countrymen. Never has there been such a great divide in parties, political parties these days. And the truth be told is none of us actually know any of the facts. So most of us are just regurgitating whichever side of the fence we choose.
Or whatever we feel like most
best.
Represents the facts. Yeah, it's
Well, yeah,
tricky.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're
Because there's people that genuinely think they're sharing what is factual, but at the end of the day, we don't always know for sure.
And that's right.
Because there's been times where we've thought we were like really right about something,
Yeah.
and then found out maybe not so much.
And that's where I would take it back to the top of the hour. Do not let your primary motive be defending what is right. Let your primary motive be defending love. Love of each other, respect of each other. You know, the word love has been so overused, I don't know that we even know the meaning of it anymore.
Right, like I love coffee. I love this microphone. It has great sound.
Right.
Like
But
I love those pine cones.
But
They
what I
smell
mean
good.
in that is before you go and slaughter
I love
somebody
Calista.
because of the hangers they're trying to sell, pause for a second and just say, how well do I actually know this person? And is my next words to them or comments to them going to be good fruit or bad fruit? Is this going to build them up or tear them down? And if it is going to be negative, even if it's right, then ask yourself, what is the motive?
what's the benefit? Yeah, what benefit
is
is
the
it?
motive? What is the motive? What does the give get? As
Well, and
we say in
especially because
business?
I think like if you genuinely have a concern about somebody, then go to them.
Well, God
like
has
you don't,
given us a way to
yeah,
do
you
that,
don't
yeah.
need to, call them out publicly.
Yeah. The public format is always, and I will say that because sometimes you say always, it makes it a not true statement. I will say it is always the wrong first way to communicate a thought or an opinion if it's going to be, potentially destructive or hurtful.
Yeah.
So, wow, yeah, okay. What did you say? I don't know if that's...
That's not what it was. It was don't speak that over yourself.
Don't speak that over yourself. That's your statement. I'm saying the topic of the day. What
Close
did
to
you
how
say?
often have you heard me say that?
Don't speak that over
Lots.
yourself.
Ox couldn't remember what I was like, Ox, at the beginning, he was in our video, and I was like, what does mom always say? And he said, I'm going to put my foot up your butt.
Mom does say that one a lot too.
Listen. Let's
All right.
quit confessing all Sammy's sins.
Let us wrap this up in
And the sun is blinding me.
remembering this.
Yes.
Not only are our words powerful, God tells us that we are created in His image, and our words are a part of our breath, and our breath in being a Christian is powerful. Like, it's not just about the actual words; it's also about the fact that God's breath spoke all things into existence. Our words are tremendously powerful, and they should be weighed before just easily spoken. That's what's the saying? Slow to speak, quick to listen. We all should
Quick to listen, slow to speak.
We shall take a class in that, including myself. So anyways, yes, them words are powerful. Start speaking positive, good words over each other. Set a brand new course for 2021.
Well, and I think another thing too is, of course, we're all human. We're going to fail in this department. And I think a huge part of that is being able to recognize it and own up to it and make it right. There's been plenty of times in my life where I've said something and then I'm like, that's not what I want to be known for. That's not what I want to be, how I want to be. And I will try to usually make it right, go to somebody and hey, I didn't mean to be this way, or if I did be this way, hey, clearly that was a hard thing, I'm sorry. So I think not necessarily beating ourselves up because we're failing in this department, but recognizing it and turning from it. That's true repentance anyway, right?
Yes.
Saying, okay, this is what I did, this is not how I want to be, let's move and do the other way.
Very true.
Yeah.
Well, great episode, babe. Good.
Oh,
topic.
yeah.
Good topic.
Good one.
Do you have an idea what we'll speak about next week? No
We
ideas?
should probably plan it ahead, like we were talking about. Plan it ahead a few weeks in advance. Maybe we'll let Ben
2021,
pick
we're
the
gonna be
topic.
planners. That's words we're gonna speak over ourselves.
I've been
planners.
planning like nobody's business, and it's done well for me. So
Ben and
I
I
want to
did
get
some
off of here and go
goals.
talk to
We set some
Calista about Paul Mitchell now.
All right.
All right.
Peace.
Bye.
All right, thank you guys for making it all the way to the end of this episode. If you did feel encouraged by watching or listening to this. Share it with a friend and let us know what you want to hear next. You will see us back next Thursday. Thank you guys.